124 here on the great WRKO, the voice of Boston, Jeff Cooner, Boston's bulldozer. We are talking with author Roger Stone, has an absolute bombshell book out called The Clintons' War on Women. This is the mother of all exposés. Mr. Stone is a New York Times bestselling author, veteran political operative, pundit, one of the best in the business. You've probably seen him on Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC. Roger, you get into some of the dark family secrets of the Clintons. And you even say that Bill Clinton was tied to murder, was in fact had to go to drug rehabilitation, and you say even has an African-American son that he abandoned. Could you get into that?
Yeah, this is heartbreaking. Danny Williams, now living in Arkansas, is the biological multiracial son of Bill Clinton and a woman named Bobby Ann Williams, now deceased, who was a cocaine-addicted prostitute. There is no question in my mind that Bill is Danny's father, but Bill refuses to acknowledge, love, nurture, support his own son. Danny Williams is, without any question, the biological son. First of all, he looks exactly like him. Bobby Ann Williams describes with great detail the interior of Bill's mother's home, where she trysted with Bill on numerous occasions. When the Reverend Say McIntosh, who was the minister for the Williams family, raised this issue publicly, put out a statement demanding that the governor take a blood test, started following Clinton around with a giant sign, then McIntosh's son, who was in the Arkansas State Penitentiary and ineligible for pardon, got an immediate pardon, whereas the good Reverend went entirely silent. The Star magazine in 1999, in the run-up to the Senate race where Hillary got her Senate seat, published a story that said that a DNA test disproved Bill's parentage of Danny Williams. The Star is owned by Robert Altman. Altman is a major donor to the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. There is no DNA test. It's a fugazi. It's a fraud. George Stephanopoulos sold this story to the Washington Post. The Washington Post, Howie Kurtz printed it. I have emailed Kurtz numerous times demanding that he prove that there is a DNA test. The people at the Star has changed hands. They won't respond. There is no blood test, although I'd be happy to pay for one personally if Clinton wants to donate some DNA. Danny Williams is therefore abandoned. Bill Clinton is not only a deadbeat dad, but it's even worse than that. He's a deadbeat grandfather because Danny has 5 children of his own, and Bill Clinton has never held his grandchildren, has never acknowledged them or nurtured them. I think it is one of the dark secrets of the Clintons.
The ties to murder.
And by the way, it's hypocritical because they're constantly lecturing us about it takes a village, take care of your babies, Hillary says. Perhaps they should take care of their own.
Roger, when you talk about the Clintons' ties to murder, are you referring in any way to Vince Foster?
Well, no, not really, because I have concluded, based on my own research, that Foster did kill himself. He was not murdered by the Clintons. Many on the right are incorrect about that. However, it is Hillary Clinton that orders his body moved. It is Hillary Clinton who drives him to suicide. She was riding him relentlessly. She humiliated him in front of a full White House staff meeting only days before he took his own life. That was reported in the Wall Street Journal. He was despondent about the deterioration of his personal relationship with Hillary because I believe they were lovers, and he was her closest confidant. Together, for example, they negotiated the pardon for Dan Lassiter, the biggest drug trafficker and running buddy of Bill's, who got pardoned by Governor Bill Clinton. And the reason that I think this is true is because even the FBI toxicology report shows that poor Foster was found 30 yards down a muddy trail off the tarmac in Fort Marcy Park, but there's no mud or dirt on his shoes. It also showed that he had carpet fiber all over his body. That's because they rolled him in a carpet to get him out of the old executive office building. Motive? Hillary tells us the motive. In her book, Hard Choices, she said the first thing she thought about was that Vince's office would become a crime scene, and therefore all their most sensitive personal records would be available to federal investigators. That's why she ordered a guy named Livingston and a guy named Kennedy to move the body. The body was dumped poor guy named Patrick Knowlton, he had the unlucky happenstance of driving by at the wrong time, and he saw the guys who dumped the body. This poor guy is harassed by the FBI for months. You didn't see that. That's not what you saw. You need to keep your mouth shut or you're going to be in big trouble. Again, misuse of the government. Going back to Juanita Broderick, as soon as she brought her charges, suddenly she and her husband, who run a modest but award-winning nursing home, they undergo a series of IRS audits. It's just abuse of power by the Clintons.
Roger, we're up against a hard break. Can you hang on for one more segment?
I would be delighted.
Thank you so much. We are talking with veteran author Roger Stone. He's written numerous books. His latest is The Clintons' War on Women. He's also on Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC. He's a pundit in his own right, a veteran political operative. He knows where all the bodies are buried. 617-266-6868. If you want to ask Roger Stone a question, 617-266-6868. I'll throw it open to Cooner Country. Roger Stone, your calls next. 1:37 here on the great WRKO, the voice of Boston. My friends, Roger Stone has been generous enough to hang on with us for one more segment. He is the author of, I think, the blockbuster book of this year. It is called The Clintons' War on Women. He's written numerous books in the past. He's a New York Times best-selling author, a veteran political operative and pundit. He's written for Fox Opinion, Breitbart News, the New York Times. You can run down the whole list. And believe me, he's got the goods on the Clintons. Roger, I gotta ask you this. You mention and discuss in the book the identity of Chelsea Clinton's real father. And you're saying it's not Bill.
Sure. Chelsea Clinton's real father is Webb Hubbell, the former law partner and mentor of Hillary Clinton. In 1982, Chelsea was born weeks before the 1982 election, where Bill was struggling for re-election. The only election he would go on to lose, yet the governor's office has a complete blackout on Chelsea's birth. There's no pictures, there's no press release, there's no statement. So Bill Clinton, the ultimate political animal, desperate for votes, does not put out the news that his wife has given birth. He also tells his bodyguard, L.D. Brown, according to Brown, that he learned that Hillary was pregnant by reading it in the newspaper. If one will look at a picture of Chelsea and her real father, Webster Hubbell, side by side, the identity, the likeness is undeniable. Perhaps that's why Chelsea has had a number of plastic surgeries, the first one at 18, the second one at 24, the third one at 28, to conceal the fact that she looks just like her daddy. Now, last week, my co-author, Robert Morrow, bearded her down in Austin face-to-face and said, Chelsea, has your mother ever told you that your real father is Webster Hubbell? She looked up without missing a beat, and she said, I'm proud to be the daughter of both my parents. 3 days later, Webster Hubbell, bearded down in his office in Arkansas by a reporter, is asked point blank, are you the father of Chelsea Clinton? And he said, and I quote, want to get this exactly right, no comment. Now, why is this important? Because it shows the dysfunctionality of the Clinton family, and it also shows their trail of lies. People say to me, Stone, why are you picking on a little girl? Why are you picking on a child? She's not a little girl. She's not a child. She's an adult. She's a co-conspirator of the grand theft at the Clinton Foundation. Her name is on the records. She's legally responsible. She and her husband have skimmed at least $30 million from what was supposed to be charitable funds. And according to the New York Post, she's very much like her mother, abusive, nasty, foul-mouthed, short-tempered, and those at the Clinton Foundation who suggest perhaps we should be spending more on charity and less on luxury travel for the Clintons, those people find themselves fired by Chelsea. So the notion that she is anything less than a grifter like her parents or a co-conspirator in their theft would be incorrect. She's not a child, she's an adult, and she needs to be treated as one.
Roger, I'm going to throw it open to the phone lines. A lot of people want to ask you questions. 617-266-6868. My final question to you is this. You, I think, have brilliantly laid out what a bunch of political gangsters and thugs the Clintons are. How can this ruthless criminal Clinton machine be stopped?
Well, right now they're trying to kill this book, as was revealed in the New York Post and the Daily Mail and the Daily Caller. We were able to track a number of sudden negative reviews at Amazon, one-star reviews, all tracked back to IP addresses at the Clinton headquarters in Brooklyn. They believe that if I can keep this book off the New York Times bestseller list, they have a better chance to suppress it. The good news is that both Kathy Willey and Juanita Broderick and a number of others, women that I interviewed, they're ready to speak out. They're ready to be on paid television ads in New Hampshire and Iowa, saying exactly what was done to them by not only Bill, who violates them physically, but Hillary, who violates them then psychologically. And I don't think they can be suppressed. Thank God for Citizens United, because the money can be found to put these women on. If CNN won't cover this, I'm not worried. I'll buy out CNN in Boston. Every minute, every 5 minutes, you'll see an ad featuring one of these women. And therefore, the truth cannot be suppressed. But I would ask your listeners, go to RogerStone.com right now, or go to Amazon, or go to Barnes & Noble and buy this book, not to put money in my pocket, although that would be nice because I'm still out of pocket on this. But I want to get this book to make the New York Times list, so it's harder for CNN and MSNBC and these other outlets to ignore it. I was supposed to be on MSNBC to talk about this book yesterday at noon, 1 o'clock actually. They canceled 45 minutes before. The car they sent to pick me up was sitting in my driveway. And they gave me the runaround about we overbooked the segment and all this nonsense as if I was born yesterday. But a producer at MSNBC, who was a friend of mine, told me the truth. They had pressure from the Clintons. So what we have here is Soviet-style censorship, but I'm not going to be suppressed, and I'm not going to be silenced. Bill and Hillary Clinton are the penicillin-resistant syphilis of the American body politic.